All right, everybody, welcome in. Thursday, Section 1904. It's going to be a themed podcast. This is going to be a theme for us. It's going to be an NBA Finals preview. So if you're into the NBA Finals, or maybe if you're not into the NBA Finals and you need a little bit of convincing, maybe you're a big market snob and you need us to convince you why you should be watching an NBA Finals matchup between the 47th and 35th market or whatever the hell it is. We will attempt to do that here over the span of the next 45, 50 minutes or so. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will touch on a couple of other things relevant here on a local level, whether it's the Padres losing in San Francisco or other things that we might discuss. But we do have a guest, and it is a theme, as mentioned, so it's primarily going to be about the NBA and the finals, which start tonight, 5:30 on ABC, Oklahoma City and the Indiana Pacers. John, how are we doing?
Doing good. I am excited to have basketball back in my life. After we record this podcast, I'm going to go golf for the first time in months. So I got a nice little Thursday set up in front of me.
Okay, that sounds good. I like that. Where are you golfing?
Literally the golf course around the corner from my house. Used to be called St. Mark. Now it's called Links at the Lake House. It's not the most amazing course, but it's close by and it's good enough. And it has a couple fun holes, and I've crossing my fingers that it's not cart path only because it rained the other night and hasn't been as sunny. So we'll see if I get lucky on that one.
All right. Well, good luck to you. I should say, let me clean it up. 47th largest television market. That would be Oklahoma City. The 25th largest television market, Indianapolis. 5:30 ABC on a Thursday. It is the NBA Finals. The number 1 seed in the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder. The number 4 seed in the East. If you're in San Diego, I always think, like, you have a kinship. I know people in San Diego always get confused about market size and about city size. And I've had this conversation a billion times over the years on radio, John. People go, well, how is San Diego a small market or a mid-sized market? It is the 7th or 8th largest city in the United States. City size is not market size.
Yeah.
And the comparison, or at least the analogy that I always use for people, and it's really, really kind of nerdy stuff, is city size is like your immediate family, right? Like dad, mom, kids, like that's your immediate family. Your market size is your extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, things along those lines. Los Angeles is a big market because it's not just Los Angeles. San Francisco is a big market because it's not just San Francisco. It's San Francisco, it's Oakland, it's the whole Bay Area. So you have a larger area, a larger extended family. San Diego has a pretty big immediate family, right? Like there's a bunch of kids, but there's not a lot of relatives, so the holidays are just you. It's a Pacific Ocean. It's the border with Mexico. It's the desert.
Yeah.
It's Orange County. None of those things apply to San Diego. So, I think last I checked, we're like 25th, 26th, 27th. We have more in common with Oklahoma City and Indianapolis than we do with Los Angeles, than we do with Chicago, than we do with San Francisco. And I hope that makes sense. But I always felt like there should be a little bit of a kinship because the things that are said about these two markets with these NBA Finals can easily and have been said about San Diego, whether it's the Padres or whether it's San Diego State in the Final Four a couple years ago. So I always feel like rooting for, and I grew up in a big market city, obviously. I still have a connection to a big city team, a big market team. All of that being said, I've lived here for 25 years, and I like it when I get to see teams like Oklahoma City and Indianapolis thrive and hit the big stage because, I feel like it's something that's relatable to the place that I live in now.
Yeah, Oklahoma City having an NBA team is really interesting because it's such a small market that the NBA would have never considered putting an NBA team there, except the Hornets moved to New Orleans because they wanted to see if they could make NBA basketball work in New Orleans. Long story short on that one, probably not. And then Katrina happened, and they were like, well, we can't play our games in New Orleans anymore. Like, the arena's destroyed, the city's destroyed, et cetera, et cetera. And the closest arena that they could find that could hold an NBA capacity crowd was in Oklahoma City. So the New Orleans Hornets, for half of that season, became the Oklahoma City Hornets. And the city did exactly what you would want them to do. They responded in such a huge and positive way, selling out tickets, supporting the team, buying jerseys, and they became a huge success story. And then all of a sudden it became, well, we have to reward this fan base with an NBA team. They have shown us that they can support an NBA team. I can't tell you, Darren, I'm sure you've heard it too. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people go, we have to prove in San Diego that we'd be willing to support a hockey team, willing to support a G League team, willing to do all these things so that they know that we could support an NBA team and maybe one would show up here one day. It's probably not going to happen because we live in the shadow of Los Angeles, even though, as you pointed out, we're kind of on this own little island where it's like Camp Pendleton to the north, desert to the east, Mexico to the south, the ocean to the west. But yeah, Oklahoma City being able to successfully support an NBA franchise should be, probably won't be, but should be the sign for the NBA that they can put teams in some of these smaller markets and they could still have a lot of financial success on the court, success as an organization, even if they're not competing for, the high-priced free agents every offseason.
I do feel like this is, as much as I am loath to use the term narrative, it feels like this is like the first narrative about the NBA Finals is that people aren't going to care because of the market size. By the way, when you hear about NBA expansion, and I get that Vegas is a totally different entity, but just in terms of a television market, it's also in the 40s. I think it's like 41. Seattle isn't exactly top 10 either. So when you hear about some of the expansion cities, it's not like they're opening doors to the places. This isn't the NFL returning to Los Angeles where all of a sudden you can just jack up television rates. You're not going to places that you would look and say, oh yeah, according to the television market size, these are the places that really we rely on for advertising sales and such. So, that ain't it. And San Diego, I think if I'm looking correctly here, is like 28, 29. But, again, not really the point. I'm into it. The NFL for years thrived having Peyton Manning as one of its faces of the league, and he played in Indianapolis. Yeah. And Indiana is the Hoosier State. If this were Indiana hoops and this were the Final Four, we'd be talking all about how great basketball is in the state of Indiana. And even though the way that Oklahoma City got its franchise is certainly a turnoff I think for a lot of people, especially people like us who have lived through teams leaving, through the Chargers leaving, and other teams leaving many, many decades ago. It's still, I don't think it takes anything away from the players who are there. It is kind of crazy when you think about it. Kevin Durant has been in this league long enough that he was a Seattle Sonic. You always have to remind people of that. Like Kevin Durant played for the Seattle Sonics. It's kind of crazy when you're like, whoa.
Russell Westbrook too, I think.
It's just crazy. And they've had success there. They've produced MVP caliber players. And they have another MVP now in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So we have a guest. His name is Vinny Goodwill, senior NBA reporter with Yahoo Sports. Very good. You can find everything that he's writing at Yahoo Sports. I know he's made the rounds. I saw him on Dan Patrick the other day. I took a keen interest because Dan Patrick was asking him about Tom Thibodeau. Also, shout out to Jay Posner, former editor of the San Diego Union-Tribune, who sent me a text message yesterday when we were promoting the podcast on the various social media channels that John and I have, who said, Marty Schottenheimer, Tom Thibodeau, exactly what I was thinking. Sometimes you just have to decide, is this guy going to get you over the hump or is he not going to get you over the hump? So shout out to Jay. We do appreciate that he was checking in with us yesterday. That was nice. That was a nice bit of correspondence from Jay Posner. So if you missed that yesterday, John and I spent a little time talking about Thibodeau and talking about the Padres. Probably not going to get to a ton of Padres here today, but we will be primarily talking about the NBA Finals. Do you have a feel for this already? Like, do you have sort of etched in your mind, John? Do you have a way you see that the finals are going to go?
No. And I feel this way about most even and competitive NBA series, is that you don't know what the series is going to be until game 3 or 4. Games 1 and 2 is a lot of like, we're going to try some stuff, see how you react to it, and you're going to counter, and we're going to have to react to that. So no, I have no feel for this, except for everyone I hear, and I'm going to ask Vinny about this. everyone I listen to, everyone I read is basically saying the Thunder are an overwhelming favorite.
They are.
Which I'm sure, betting wise they are. And look, they were an incredible regular season team, and they've been very good in the playoffs so far. So, yeah, I mean, but look, a year ago, and I'm going to call Vinny on this, a year ago, there was a lot of people picking the Mavericks to beat the Celtics in the NBA Finals. I think Vinny actually picked Mavericks in 5 or Mavericks in 6 because as good as the Celtics had been in the regular season and leading up to the NBA Finals, everyone was kind of like, well, we haven't seen them step up in this moment, and what makes us believe that they will? And I'm not saying the Thunder are there exactly, but they're close enough to that it wouldn't be a shock to me if the Pacers, made this an even series. And I've heard people say like, hey, I could see a way in which this is 2-2 after 4 games, and then things get really interesting after that. That would be ideal. I want to throw one thing at you before we bring Vinny in, just because I'm an NBA nerd. I keep calling this the Paul George Finals. Do you know why?
Yeah, because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was traded. Well, I mean, he got drafted by the Pacers. Then he went to Oklahoma City. Then he got traded from Oklahoma City to the Clippers for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
It gets better than that. When he got traded from the Pacers to Oklahoma City, what they got in return was Victor Oladipo and Sabonis. The Pacers then traded Sabonis to the Kings to get Tyrese Halliburton. So the best player on each team, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Oklahoma City got him from trading Paul George. And Tyrese Halliburton, Indiana got him from trading Sabonis, who they only got for trading Paul George. So both of these teams have built the rock in which their church has been built was trading Paul George for some sort of young upstart point guard. I love that. I hope Paul George shows up to a game just to make a show of it.
Either side, right? He should show up for 1 and 2 in Oklahoma City, 3 and 4.
He could wear the split jerseys that the parents wear sometimes.
Yeah, he should absolutely do that when a parent has a couple of kids playing against one another. Yeah, absolutely. Look like Mama Giles out there sitting in the stands. All right, that's good. That's good information. That's a good little tidbit there. And now Paul George is playing for the Sixers, I think.
Maybe, if that's what you want to call it. He's collecting a check, if nothing else.
I've lost track. All right. But going a little more in-depth, he's there. He's in Oklahoma City. He's going to be covering the series. Vince Goodwill, senior NBA reporter, Yahoo Sports. We'll jump into section 1904.
Okay, senior NBA reporter from Yahoo Sports and the host of The Good Word with Goodwill. You probably also have seen him on NBA TV, have heard him on The Right Time with Bomani Jones and everywhere else that he shows up throughout the NBA season. Vinny Goodwill, it is nice to see your face and hear your voice. You are one of my favorite people on earth, and I'm so happy that I was able to get some of your time here to help us preview the NBA Finals. Before you jumped on, I was telling Darren about how I've been calling this the Paul George Finals because Oklahoma City got Shai from trading Paul George, and the Pacers got Halliburton from trading Sabonis, who they got for trading Paul George. And then we were making a joke about Paul George should show up to one of these games in like the split jersey, like the mamas do sometime when the kids are on the two different teams. This is how I want to start this conversation now that we're there. Mm-hmm. Every year during the finals and after the finals, the conversation around the NBA becomes, we should all do what that team is doing, or we should all do what those teams are doing. I remember Nuggets Heat, the whole conversation was, well, you got to keep your coach for a really long time. Look at these coaches. They've been here for a really long time. Look what they've built. And then Michael Malone gets fired, right? So is this Adam Silver's NBA in a nutshell, this series? Is it now just you have to build through smart coaching, development, and depth? And if so, does that make these Oklahoma City Thunder like the NBA's version of the New England Patriots?
I would hope not. Let me say, first off, John, it is great to see you. Good to see you, my man. Really miss you. Long time.
We need an NBA team so you can come visit.
Hey, look, we got some bad real estate, and I'm not going to say that one of the places that I'm at right now is bad real estate, but you can do the math.
You can say it after you leave town, Vinny.
Yeah. If you have no other sport, no other professional sport, if you are surrounded by a minor league ballpark, the NBA might not be the place for you, right? All right, cool. Now that we get that out the way, Adam Silver's NBA. I think we all like to think that Adam loves the small markets, but I think he loves success. And if you get a bunch of Oklahoma City Thunders in the NBA Finals for the next half decade, people are going to be calling for his head. People are going to be saying, this is too much parity. You need to give the big markets some advantages because we want the ratings back up, blah, 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 all that sort of disingenuous conversation. But as far as the Thunder are concerned, you can't build like them. Like, they have a treasure trove of draft picks. They trade very well. They draft even better. And you're asking teams to like walk a very fine line to build a champion. I think there's multiple ways to build a contender. Like, I think you've seen the past few years, like the way that Boston built a contender, and we thought they were going to be around forever. We thought Boston's run was going to be endless. We think Oklahoma City's run is going to be endless. I don't know if that's the case. I think every year there's going to be a new model for teams to follow. Every year there's going to be some sort of anomaly of success that's going to look like, this is the trend. Well, no, it's just the thing that happened this year. So to your point about the New England Patriots, short of Tom Brady and who he was dating or getting pregnant, they were boring as hell. I don't care about Oklahoma City being a great team. I want compelling players and compelling stories and quotables and things that I can sort of sink my teeth into as a writer. If we're going to be in Oklahoma City, y'all better give me something to talk about.
And do they? Do the Thunder do that? I mean, forget about the nightlife in Oklahoma City. You know, it's certainly not a destination for me. I'm never going to go there. But in terms of just covering an NBA team, right, when you get the kind of access, and it was a million years ago that I covered the finals, but you've been there, like, are they an interesting team? Can people sink their teeth into this team and go like, wow, that's something worth paying attention to?
Well, Darren, you just said nightlife in Oklahoma City in the same sentence. I don't even know if those two things belong in the same book. All right? Can we cuss on here? That shit don't work. No, absolutely not. I think there is like glimpses of personality, right? There's glimpses of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander sort of breaking away from the OKC tried and true say nothing, give nothing thing. Like Chet Holmgren, I think he has a little bit of personality to him, like especially when you see him matched up against Victor Wembanyama, two guys who legit hate each other and they want to own the corner of skinny man. You know what I mean? Like, that is the thing. Jalen Williams, I think, probably has more to say. Like, he's more insightful. Like, I don't think these guys are robots, but I don't know if they're necessarily like compelling in, you know what I'm saying, in that way. And I think it's that way on purpose. The unfortunate thing is, I think if Oklahoma City is going to be a part of the NBA lexicon and a part of the NBA discussion, and their big selling point is, you know, we're in Oklahoma City, we don't have the big markets and everything else, but we have a great team, then you have to go out of your way, I think, to be compelling. You cannot always say, nobody wants to come hang with us, nobody wants to come play here, but you take all the NBA's marketing money. You take the marketing money built off the back of LeBron and Steph and all these other guys who have the microphones in their face every day and having to do the bidding and selling for the league, and you participate in none of it. So, no, I don't think these guys are particularly entertaining. Like that AT&T commercial, does that do anything for y'all?
No, I mean, sometimes I wonder how many people actually know who they are. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I do wonder that. Like, I'm watching an NBA game and I know who they are and we all know who they are. But I do wonder how many people are watching this casually and don't have any clue who these people are on the screen.
Well, Darren, the thing is, the dirty little secret about the NBA, back from the heyday that we think about of like the 90s, and you had the individual stars and NBC and everything else, was Nike was doing a lot of marketing for the NBA with their commercial campaigns, and the players became an extension of that marketing, an extension of the shoes, and they sort of leaned into it. Once they saw the success of it, they were able to lean into it. It didn't just come from the ground, it came from Nike, and the NBA rode the back of that, and NBC rode the back of it, and the players sort of leaned in. But you don't have Nike doing the marketing anymore. Like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a Converse athlete. Nothing against Converse, but have you seen those ugly ass shoes?
I'm hearing, you know, John said Patriots, but what I'm hearing is like maybe best case scenario San Antonio here. right? That was a team that was really, really successful, but also deliberately the Spurs, maybe not the city.
And that's where
but that
Sam
was
Presti
a team
came from too. So it's like the same front office.
Right. It was sort of like, okay, like the whole thing was like, we got a bunch of dudes here who like don't want that kind of attention. So maybe what we're looking at here is potentially, another era of the San Antonio Spurs style of success in the NBA.
Yuck. Not that the basketball isn't great and you can't appreciate it, but I think the basketball is a part of it. It's not all of it. And I think I'm a storyteller, and I like writing meaty columns and meaty features and stuff like that. And the players have to kind of cooperate. The organizations have to cooperate. You're right. The Spurs were deliberately boring. And when players got there and it didn't fit in with that ideology, they wound up being shipped out or let go or whatever it was. And I felt like even that was done a disservice to the game. It doesn't get in the way of winning, but it does enhance the aroma of everything that we're having. And I don't think it's a disservice to tell the guys, hey, you have to participate in this. You can't just eat off the back of everybody else that's doing the dirty work.
Yeah, I think that's right. Actually, before I have some questions about the actual basketball.
Oh,
the on the court basketball. But before we get there, and feel free to answer this with 1 or 2 words, Vinny Goodwill.
Gotcha.
I'm going to posit a question to you that my buddy Darren here asked me, I don't know, a week or 2 ago. Darren doesn't know I'm about to ask this question. Darren asked me, does the Seattle Supersonics championship count as an Oklahoma City Thunder championship? Do you say that organization has won a title in the past, even if it was in a different city under a different name?
Hell no.
Thank you for giving me. All right, now I want to ask a basketball question. Is this 2-part question? Mm-hmm. And one of them is bitter, and I've been holding on to it for a year, which is Lou Dort plays defense like fouls don't exist. Like he can't possibly get called for a foul, and he'll just beat the ever-loving shit out of every guy he goes up against and dare the refs to call it, and 99% of the time they don't, and I don't understand why, because he's usually beating up on smaller dudes and he's covered in muscles. But last year, like I said, everyone was kind of looking at the Mavericks losing to the Celtics and going, well, you can't have this heliocentric offense because then it allows the Celtics defense to just take away Luka, and now no one else knows what to do. This year, I feel like we have, again, 2 now heliocentric offenses. The Pacers offense doesn't work nearly as well without Tyrese Halliburton. The Oklahoma City Thunder offense does not work nearly as well without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What percentage chance do you think there is that both of these guys remain healthy throughout the entire series? Because if one of them gets hurt, that might be the entire series. And with Lou Dort out there running into people built like a truck, I think there's a real possibility that at least one of them gets hurt.
I think the Lou Dort point is excellent because he plays basketball like a linebacker. He plays like it's NBA Jam where they don't call fouls and you can just knock mofos over and take the ball and dunk and all that
NBA
other type of
Street,
stuff, right?
buddy.
Yeah. NBA, yeah. Okay, they want people. Like I'm an NBA Jam person. Like I'm dating myself, right? But John, I think you make a great point. I think Tyrese Halliburton is far more important to the success of the Indiana Pacers, whatever success they're going to have, more so than even Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's the league's MVP, because Tyrese is a guy like Steve Nash, where everybody sort of feeds off of his energy. He's not a guy that's going to accumulate. He's going to accumulate all the stats. So I'm not going to say it's not like a stats thing, but it's a spirit thing. It's I'm pushing the ball up. You're going to not see where I'm going. Like the difference between him and Luka is if Luka doesn't have the ball, he's basically useless. Yeah. Right? Like he's going to stand and wait 30 feet out and clap for the ball, and you don't have to really account for him. For Tyrese Halliburton, he gives up the ball. You got to actually track him and find out where he is. And that, in essence, opens up more things for other players across the floor, like a Pascal Siakam, like a Miles Turner, in addition to just the assists, the pick and rolls, and the general pace that the Pacers play with. For Oklahoma City, Shai is not that way, but he's also not heavily ball dominant either. Like, he doesn't impose his will to start the game. He doesn't feel the need to score the first 8 or 9 points to send a message like J-Dub can do that. Or you want to make sure Dort gets a shot so he can be very active on the defensive end, even though he's going to dive at your legs no matter what what type of offensive night he's having. But it seems like Shea is a little more diplomatic in making sure that, I don't have to have the score. I don't have to have the assist. As long as eyes are on me, you guys are going to get better opportunities. So I do think, hey, if either one of those guys are missing because of injury, it changes the complexion of the series. But I honestly think Oklahoma City could maybe survive without Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, because I feel like they have more people who can fill in the blanks. Not that Shea isn't valuable, because he's better than everybody, but I feel like they have more ways to win games.
Yeah, it's because Caruso, right? And their defense. They can win with their defense, and Caruso's not the world's worst backup point guard, whereas like Andrew Nembhard running the Pacers offense is a really bad idea.
It's not. He can't drive that car.
Yes.
That's like driving your parents' car when you're 14.
Can I ask a quick follow-up on Halliburton? Only
Sure.
because, it stood out that there was this anonymous poll in The Athletic not too long ago where, a bunch of people were asked anonymously, and maybe this is more personality than it is analysis. I don't know. I don't cover the league anywhere as close as you, obviously. But Tyrese Halliburton was voted the most overrated player in the NBA. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that or if that crossed your plate, but what did you make of that when that came out?
Usually when someone is saying you're overrated, that means you're overhyped. When's the last commercial you seen Tyrese Halliburton in?
Yeah. Never.
Right? So I don't think it's a matter of him being overrated or guys thinking he's overrated. I think it was like 13 players. When you looked at the percentage of how it broke down, I think 100 players were polled and maybe 13 of them or something like that say he was overrated. So it's not like a large swath. It was just a large swath of the voting block. And those people who said Tyrese Halliburton was overrated are probably people who cannot believe that Tyrese Halliburton, of all people, was busting their ass and talking about it and looking the way that he looks and talking the way that he talks, and he's got his daddy sitting courtside and maybe on the floor and everything else. I think it has less to do with like them believing he's overrated or overvalued, and more like, man, I don't like this dude. He talks a lot of shit. He's a front runner. Like, he takes everybody's celebration. Remember, he was doing the Dame time thing last year to Damian Lillard at the NBA Cup in Vegas. Guys don't like that
thing, right?
Yeah, the choke thing, that's an homage. Like, I can take that. Reggie Miller sitting courtside is in Madison Square Garden. It's that franchise against that franchise. I can take that. But remember, we are in a generation of copycat dudes that just go on the internet and then make somebody else's personality or movements their own. Remember Jason Tatum, he did everybody's celebration last year in a span of 10 seconds.
Put a curse on his Achilles as a result. I have one more.
You said that, not me, John.
I know. I'm a hater. And it's partially because my team at the time was the one on the losing end of that. I have one more question about the finals and then two non-finals NBA questions. So the finals question is, we keep hearing about how great Oklahoma City is. They won 68 games. They're, the Detroit Tigers of the NBA's Western Conference. That one's there for you, Vinny. I hope you're watching those games. But every game analysis is like, well, Indiana likes to play fast, but Oklahoma City likes to play fast. So they'll just play fast together and it'll be a really fast series. You can't play fast for 7 games. You can't even play fast for a whole game. And the question that no one's answering that I get to ask of you now, because I think you're the best person to answer this, is who's better when the game gets slow? Who's better when the game gets in the mud? Because, I mean, Oklahoma City has guys like Dort and J-Dub that can push you around a little bit, but like Indiana's got some dogs too. Like Aaron Nesmith, if his ankle's good, he's going to get in there and fight too. So when it gets slow and it gets muddy and it gets dirty, which one of these teams do you like better in that situation?
I still think it's Oklahoma City.
Yeah, probably.
And I think defensively is the great separator. Like, I'm dating myself again, but Nolan Richardson was the head coach of the University of Arkansas, and his mantra was 40 minutes of hell, right? I think Oklahoma City gives you 15 minutes of it. 15 strong minutes of hell where they go on a 20-3 run or 25-5 run, and you can't dribble. You can't shoot. It's like your controller stopped working. It's literally like you're pushing the button and your controller's no longer working, trying to figure out, I'm pushing the button, you're playing Street Fighter, and you can't get a punch off, and you're like, man, the game cheating. That's what it feels like when you're playing Oklahoma City when they're on one of these defensive runs. they have so much length and they have so many different ways, and they're so dynamic about defensively how they can play you. You can move Shea down a level. You can move J-Dub down a level, and he can play against 4s and 5s. You can play J-Dub up a level. So even you can zone too, like they were playing against Anthony Edwards. They slowed Minnesota down because they said, okay, we're going to play defensively really aggressive, but you're not going to get the ball up floor the quickest. You're not going to be able to get quick shots. That's how you're able to sort of control pace. Sometimes it's by playing zone and zoning up on the one shooter, the one offensive threat with the ball. So I think Oklahoma City has more ways to slow you down defensively if this game gets in the mud. I don't think all 5 games will be a track meet. I think there will be one game where Indiana presses their will, but I'm not sure if even that will be enough in this series because Oklahoma City likes to play just that way as well.
And if it does slow down, and I have 2 quickies on the finals before John wants to move ahead. One would just be coaching. You know, one guy's been there, the other guy hasn't. I wonder how much of an advantage, if at all, you think that is.
Well, I think Rick Carlisle is quite possibly, John, cover your ears, maybe one of the top 10 or 15 coaches in the history of basketball.
Oh, I completely agree.
That man is a wizard. Now, he may be hard to deal with in a lot of different ways and an acquired taste for some people, but good coaching may be able to get you one game. And I think we sort of take for granted the small subtleties of adjustments that happen in playoff series, maybe moving a player 5 inches off the ball or flipping some screens or, searching for the minute advantages. I think Carlisle is good enough in that space where if he has the bodies, and you just brought up, you brought up Nesmith being healthy, and you can maybe put him in a bunch of different places, but you also don't want to have him risk for foul trouble. Like, that is the chess match. That's the advantage there. So, yeah, I do think coaching plays a huge thing. And Mark Daigneault, I think, is a really good coach, but this is the first time that you're in these particular bright lights.
And if it's a close series, one game, as we saw with the Eastern Conference Finals, one game matters a lot. If it's close, if it's not, then it's just cosmetic.
That's a big if, brother. That's a big if.
The other would be the pacing. No pun intended there, but one team hasn't played, 8 days, 5 days, I think it is for either one of these. But, unlike the conference finals, it's not every other day, right? Like, it's like 3 days in between. Any advantage?
Don't remind me.
I know. That's more time for you. More expenses going to Yahoo. Any advantage just based on the pacing of the series, which is different in the finals than it is in the conference finals?
I used to think that this favored the team that has the rest, right? You would think you're deep into the playoffs, you're playing 100-plus games, whatever the case may be. I don't think Oklahoma City cares because they're so damn young that I don't think the rust really affects them. They're going to be playing basketball every day anyway. I think that's the question is they haven't played in over a week. It'll be pretty much 8 days from last Wednesday when they played Minnesota in Game 5 at home. So the good thing is they haven't traveled. And Indiana played a higher intensity series, a more emotionally taxing series, but they're in rhythm. I think both teams are generally as rested as you want to be. You don't want to get to the 10-day mark, but you want to have more than 3 days of rest. I just think Oklahoma City is so young and so fresh that the rest won't really affect them in that way.
I also think they're so deep that if one of their guys is, rusty in game 1, they're just like, oh, we'll throw you out. In comes Case and Wallace or someone. All right, moving off the finals for a very specific reason. Vinny, your vocal cords are warmed up. Put on your Stephen A. Smith hat. You might need to yell here. You and I had a lot of conversations on podcasts and off podcasts about the NBA and about Two Americas, and the place in which those conversations met was always with me asking you around All-Star Weekend, is it possible to do a USA versus the world All-Star game? And you saying every single time the country will burn, the league will never do it. Adam Silver came out and said, next year? The All-Star game is going to be played in the afternoon. I guess just in case they're in Oklahoma City or Indiana, I got to get everyone out before the sun goes down. But he's going to do it. There's going to be a USA versus the world. And, I'm excited for this because, Luka and Jokic and Giannis going up against Ant Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton and whatever. That sounds fun. But you told me this was never going to happen, Vinny. Why is it happening? Are you okay with it? Or are you a little afraid of the takes that are going to fly?
I'm definitely afraid of the takes that are going to fly. Let's be perfectly honest here. You know, American xenophobia is alive and well on a number of different levels, and it's going to take place in the middle of the Winter Olympics, which brings out all of the, hey, roll that beautiful footage of Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding from 30 years ago, and remember how America lost its damn mind over figure skating. Let's see how they work on a Sunday afternoon in Los Angeles, right? On NBC. I think, you know, the presentation there, I do think that All-Star being on network TV, also being earlier in the day on a Sunday as opposed to 8:30 at night, is going to help things.
Agreed.
Because for the players, can you really, really hang out super late on a Saturday night? Yes, in LA you can. Mm-hmm. If your game is at noon local time in Los Angeles, you kind of have to dry yourself out, right? But none of this works if the dudes don't care. And I think for Adam Silver, I'm going to say last ditch effort. That's not the right way I want to phrase it, but it is a desperate effort to try to get guys to care. The question is, unless it's the Olympics, when do players lean into Americana? Who says the world? Who says the Serbians get along with anybody else? Who says the Serbians get along with the Greeks?
That's fair.
Right? Like, who says that for the sake of this, you're going to have Luka Doncic turning over to Giannis and saying, yes, let's do it for, wait, where are you from again? Like, I just don't know. I don't know if this is the way. If the players don't care, it does not matter. And two of the biggest, you know, sort of perpetrators of All-Star Weekend or All-Star games have been the international players. It doesn't matter to them either. So putting the Americans across from them isn't going to rev anything up if they don't care in any other setting.
Yeah, the only way this has any chance of success is if somehow, Vinny, like the international guys just decide like they're going to puff their chests out here in this unique opportunity, and somehow the U.S. players feel like, well, we might get embarrassed by this. Like that feels like the three-quarter court heat here that Adam Silver's trying to do.
You cannot shame the shameless.
Right. Especially in the day after a night in Los Angeles. I don't care what you say. They're not drying out. They're going to go straight to the court.
Yep.
We know that. I mean, they're going to straight to the court after they're out.
That court will smell like alcohol.
And after the game, they will be in a rush to go right back out and party until their private planes takes them back to wherever the hell they're going. Yeah. So, yeah, I think look, I think the NBA is doing everything it can. You've tried to bribe the players. You've tried to, you know, emotionally motivate the players with the Kobe Bryant death and everything else. But if the players don't care, if the players don't see a real incentive for growing the league and seeing how important it is, it doesn't matter. And I don't think that's going to happen until these old dudes leave.
Do you think the All-Star Game's important? Because I go back and forth on this. I was driving around yesterday listening to some sports talk radio, and they're like, well, the players don't care. And part of me's going, yeah, like I get it, you know, like you know, it's a long postseason, it's a long season, you know, it was a lot different when you didn't have you know, extended postseasons to wait. But should they? I don't know. Like I myself, I'm not quite clear on that.
Everything that you do does not have to be incentivized for you. I think at some point you have to give back to the game that has given so much of you, given so much to you. And if you're only looking at it from the standpoint of I'm only going to do this if you raise the prize money or whatever it is, then you become a mercenary. And if you are a mercenary in a way that you are selling yourself out to be, then people have the right to say anything that comes to mind about you prostituting yourself and not giving back to the game. I think it is important because All-Star Weekend wouldn't be what it is. It wouldn't have been something to destroy. If people are saying All-Star Weekend has been destroyed, that means something had to be built. And it was built on the backs of the Michael Jordans, the Julius Irvings, Bird, Magic, Isaiah, all those guys who were building into the game and were not getting paid a fraction of what these guys are getting paid now. So if those guys won't respect even the path that has been laid for them, then I think that's a shame. And yes, I think it's important. I think it's critically important for the league. You have to inspire the next generation.
But you know, the players who would say, but hold on a second now, we've expanded the postseason. We've added more teams into the postseason, right? Like, you know, these are the other things now that are being asked of us that weren't asked of a previous generation. That usually seems to be the counter when this sort of stuff comes up. Like, we're all playing 7-game series now. It used to be a 5-game series in that opening
NBA
round.
Cup adds a game or two to the season.
Right. It's not 8 now. It's 10, and it's playing games. And, it's just like, it's a back-to-backs.
Are you asking me to sound like the white man on this podcast? That's what y'all got me sounding like. I got to stick up for the man here. No. Come on, y'all got me sounding like the police.
All right. Let's not make Vinny sound like the police. Vinny, I'm gonna ask you something on this podcast that I would normally just send you in a text message. We're gonna play a game. I'm gonna pretend that I'm going to Vegas today, and I'm sending you a text that says, Vinny Goodwill, I want to put $100 on somebody to be the next coach of the New York Knicks. Who should I put that money on?
Oh, that's a great question. Not Rick Pitino, not Jeff Van Gundy, not any one of those other guys. I would not be surprised, and this is just off the top of the dome, if Knicks assistant Johnny Bryant gets the call. And he hasn't been a head coach before, but he's well thought of. And I think because the players were probably down on Tibbs in a bunch of different ways, and it seems like that they went to James Dolan and said, we don't like him, you probably need to bring in a guy that the players are going to buy into because the stakes are so high. And you probably have to have somebody that's going to get along with Rick Brunson and Jalen Brunson and the family Brunson and everybody else that has power in that organization.
Rick Brunson's a made man there with the Knicks, right?
I mean, are we still recording? Like,
Yes.
Do you want me to say this out loud?
I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I think I think so.
I see a little bit out there. I follow, I'm a Knicks fan, but I see a lot of chatter out there on the big Knicks energy Twitter feed here.
Were you one of those people hanging off like the street lights and shit?
I mean, listen, a younger version of me probably would have been doing that, but I'm out here in San Diego now, so I just sort of watch it in the quiet of my own house.
So were you ashamed? No.
No.
Tell me you felt a sense of shame by all of those idiots hanging out in New York, like after a second round win.
Absolutely not. The only time I felt any sense of shame was the dude with the Halliburton jersey on. That was it. Because that ain't it in any capacity at all.
Well, when they were hassling Windhorst too.
Nah, that was fine. Brian Windhorst can take it.
That's true.
But it was fine. It was good natured. It was just
You people are ridiculous.
What?
What
We
is
never
wrong
win
with
jack
you?
shit, my dude. We never win jack shit.
And that's why you don't, because you don't know how to act when you do.
well, we never do. So of course, why would we know how to act?
Good God, you people are ridiculous. You people.
Look at you again, playing the role, aren't you? I have no shame whatsoever, because that might be as good as it ever gets for us. So might as well enjoy it in life. It might. It's a risk you take when you're a fan of this team.
All right, that's all I got. Darren, you got anything else for Vinny?
So what do you got? Thunder in how many?
He said 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. The count says 5.
Okay.
Fifth. 1, 2,
We
3, 4.
appreciate it. Vinny, thank you very much for doing this. Always entertaining.
Hey, appreciate y'all, man.
All right, for more coverage at Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports, The Good Word by Goodwill. I like that. All right, brought a little. No shame, absolutely no shame here.
Johnny Bryant, you like Johnny Bryant? Like we quickly turned into him criticizing the Knicks fan, but Johnny Bryant was where he landed for.
Doesn't do much for me. Got to be honest. It's
Yeah.
just it's gonna make me Google this a little later just to see what it is and who it is and. I don't know that you went through all of this with Thibodeau to end up with Johnny Bryant. Is that similar to the analogy from yesterday of getting rid of Marty Schottenheimer and ending up with Norv Turner? I'm not sure. Probably not, since there's no real track record here with Johnny Bryant, but I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
I hope it's not Oklahoma City, in 5. I do think that is kind of the question a lot of people have had is not whether or not the Pacers can win, but whether or not the Pacers can make it a series.
Yeah.
And some of the statistics are just ugly. Oklahoma City was 29-1 during the East. That something I read in The Athletic. I didn't actually do the research on that. So they pummeled the Pacers during the regular season. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes these teams, they have home court advantage. Oklahoma City's been amazing, although the Pacers have won without home court twice, so maybe they're used to it. I hope it's a series, and it's not to say I think it's just going to be a complete whitewashing here, But I do hope it is a series, and I think it can be a series. I have a feeling, John, there's going to be competitive games, even if the series at the end of it doesn't look competitive in the final analysis. You know what I mean? Like the games will be good. I just don't know. It might be 4-1 or something like that.
Now, that was the Eastern Conference Finals last year, right? Like the Pacers and Celtics, they were, it was like a 3-point game at the end of every game, but the Celtics had either swept or won in 5. It could easily be that. I keep coming back to like Rick Carlisle. 2011, Rick Carlisle's got this Mavericks team, and everyone's like, yeah, they're good. But, the Heat have LeBron, and they have Wade, and they have Bosh, and it's like, they almost won, 70 games. They're a juggernaut. You can't do anything with that. And Rick Carlisle was like, watch, like JJ Barea and some zone defense, and I'm going to win a championship. And he could have something up his sleeve like that again. He's a hell of a coach. He's got a really good team. They have such a great home crowd. Like I could see the Pacers winning every single home game in Indianapolis. I just don't know how they win in Oklahoma City, but it's really hard because, the whole history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. It's really hard to not look at all these people doubting Rick Carlisle and his underdog in the finals and seeing if he could find a way the way he did 14 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I'm glad we got Vinny's opinion about that too, about Carlisle, because, I do think it is. And the finals are different. I mean, I've covered a bunch. You've covered them. The finals are just different, and everything about it feels different. Unless you've been there, like it is easy for everything, even for a team as well coached as this, and all the boxes checked towards Oklahoma City. But there is that, and I do think it is an advantage. All right, John's going to go play golf. So let me just say a couple things. Number one, thank you to Vinny Goodwill. Also, thank you to everybody. We continue to see people subscribing to this podcast, which we very much appreciate. John had today's front row seat out at 7:11 a.m.
Wow.
7:11. This arrived in my inbox today. So it's nice to get your day started with the front row seat, which will give you some links to some stories that we'll probably be talking about here. And if we're not talking about it, it's certainly something that we could be talking about. Although I did see somebody say, hey, how come there's no NHL finals talk in the front row seat?
Fair criticism.
Yeah, I don't know how many people realize that the final started last night. The Stanley Cup final started last night. Can you name the two teams in the final?
Yeah, because I went to a friend's house and he had the game on, and it wasn't until that guy tweeted this morning that I was like, oh, right, I guess that is the finals. It was Edmonton and Florida.
Edmonton I remember, and the Panthers, correct.
Yeah, it's the Florida Panthers. Yeah, and I remember seeing it going like, oh, this is an interesting playoff matchup. My brain didn't do the whole like Edmonton's in the West, so if they're playing each other, it must be the finals, and it's that time of year, so it must be the finals. I was just like, oh, NHL playoff hockey, sure.
Sneaky good day, so we'll fix that. Sneaky good day here, not just in terms of you got Padres on middle of the afternoon. Dylan Cease. Listen, the split has been secured, although that feels a little hollow, especially given that the Padres are up 5-0. I will say on the Discord last night, John, the score was 5-1. It was the 6th inning, and I typed into the Discord, it'll take the Giants a month to score 5 against Pavetta. I'm going to watch Andor. And I turned away from the Padres. I figured this one was in the bag. And I watched an episode of Andor, which was very confusing. I just feel like I'm out of sorts on this season number 2. Anyway.
To be fair, Jason Adam was the one who gave up most of the runs. They were just Pavetta's runners.
That is fair. He did give up a couple from Pavetta. I guess that would be one of the things I would wonder, if you're going to take Pavetta out. Hey, he was only on 75 pitches, probably premature. Yeah. Anyway, and then I tuned back in, and it was 6-5 Giants, and I caught the final out of the game. So I won't blame myself because I don't believe in that sort of thing. I did then say, I just tuned in to see the final out. I requested, can somebody describe what happened in 5 words or less on the Discord? Bro cones. Schilt gambled and lost. Angel or Angel. Padres pitchers hung pitches. Alex Pena said, pitchers bad they are. Thank you for incorporating a little bit of Star Wars talk. Then there's some banter here about Xander Bogaerts and his shoulder, so who knows about that.
Yeah.
Erwin says, what else did we get? Give away too much, so, thank you. Michelle, Sleepy Giants woke up. Yeah, so thank you for everybody who gave me the recap there. I missed it. But anyway, I'm kind of glad that I did. So you got that. There's a really good Nations League soccer match on. Spain and France is at 12 noon today. If you listen to this before 12 noon, that's really good. A lot of big stars there. A lot of the best players in the world playing for a spot on the Nations League final in Europe. And then tomorrow, John, for the request that we're getting for a little bit of tennis, tomorrow's the day. 5:30 semifinals, French Open. 5:30 a.m. here locally for people that are up. Yep. Alcaraz is playing on one semifinal, and then the other semifinal will be Djokovic and Sinner. So pretty good tennis to wake up to on Friday morning. And, of course, we'll have the NBA Finals game number 1 to discuss as well. So some good sports there that might be a little bit off the radar if you're just looking for a lot of Padres banner. But with a game in the middle of the day, there's no real point in us getting into it. So I'll save that for other shows that want to talk
and
about
tomorrow is Friday, so we'll probably go to Mason Ale Works around noon, which means the episode will come out a little bit later than it normally does, but with a little bit more spice and music in the background. But yeah, we'll have the French Open semifinals to discuss in addition to
will that
else.
get you watching tomorrow when you get up? Will you Alcaraz and I mean he's not at least in terms of rankings the best player in the world. I mean that's Sinner, but Sinner, Djokovic one side, Alcaraz, that's pretty good.
I mean I've been turning it on at 7:30 in the morning to whatever matchup is going on, but yeah, it's I might turn it on as soon as I wake up, which is usually around 6:00, and just check in with it tomorrow.
Okay. Well, again, that's some pretty good sports coverage there. Again, Spain and France is going to be great. Yeah. I'm actually debating whether or not to go to SDFC training today because it's a different game. It's a different game this week. Trying to track down rosters for some of these Club America players has proven to be a bit challenging since I think we're going to get a lot of under 20 players.
Yeah.
And a lot of triple-digit numbers running around out there on the field. Some of the academy players and under 20 players, they end up wearing triple digits when they're playing in these kind of games. So I would imagine we're going to have, and that's a pass from number 200 over to number 124 to all that sort of stuff. But we'll see. Maybe I'll make my way out there and see what's what and see if there's anything that we can all discuss. All right, that's a wrap. John's going golfing. Thank you again. Vince Goodwill, we appreciate that, and we'll see you Friday.